Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably noticed from my attempt at a French introduction that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille adjacent or antique Italian decks to answer a question that I pull from my larger, primarily Rider-Waite-Smith based tarot spread of the week. And I've done that spread, and that spread I entitled Do the Work and Then Get Going, which was interesting. It was a very interesting spread. It was interesting for several reasons, primarily because the core message was echoed in the three major portions of that large spread. There's a central theme. There's a spread of three at the top and a spread of three at the bottom. And all portions of that larger spread pointed to the same message. The two advice cards from an oracle deck pointed to the same message. So that was really powerful and very interesting. And if you haven't seen that, I suggest going to see that video first and then coming to see this one, because you'll have a better understanding of why I chose the question I chose for this video. The question that I chose for this video was, how do we lay a solid foundation from which to launch toward our dreams? Let me read that again. It's a long one, and my pauses probably interfered with understanding. So let me try that again. How do we lay a solid foundation from which to launch toward our dreams? Yeah, so what does that mean? If you think of a rocket ship launching towards an intended destination, the foundation, the platform that it launches from, we want that to be very, very stable, very, very secure for it to take off in the direction that we intend it to take off from. If that platform, the foundation, the platform is unstable or is weak and it collapses underneath the rocket as it tries to lift off, it will go off in a weird direction. It will go off in an unintended direction. Now, that's not to say that we're saying, be careful, you're going to mess up. That's not what we're saying. But we are saying that we want to have a solid foundation from which to launch toward our dreams, from which to flow with our powerful current of intention. So, in just a moment, what I will do is I will show you the question in written form, all nice and pretty, and then I will show you the cards that I pulled for the response to that question. Here they are. What do you think of this deck? I used this same deck last week. It's the Jean Dodal, which is, I think, from about 1701. Don't quote me on that. I'll have that information in the description box below. But it's around the same time as the Noblet. Many people place both the Jean Dodal and the Jean Noblet in a type 1 Tarot de Marseille. Personally, not a scholar, but I consider Tarot de the Tarot of Jean Noblet to be a type 0, in and of itself. Not perhaps as in and of itself as a Vieille or Tarot de Paris, but still, I would consider, for me, personally, I would consider the Jean Dodal to be a type 1, the Noblet to be a type 0, or a side arm, or a pre-Tarot de Marseille. Anyways, enough about me. How about you? So this deck that I have is from Flornoy. The producer's name was Flornoy. And I will have a link to their shop in the description box below, so you can go and check out this deck. He also has a wonderful Noblet deck, And he has leather cases to put them in. He has a leather case for both the Flornoy, both the Dodal and the Noblet, and I have both, and I love both. They're wonderful travel decks this way. So this is the deck that I'm using again, because I don't have access to my other decks in my office in another city where I usually work. So this is the deck I brought with me. And you saw, going from left to right, there was the Five of Wands. There were the Five of Wands, the Knight of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and the Fool. Now, if you know me and this series, you know that my first spread, the first time I lay an answer, I will do a 3-card spread. And as I look at those 3 cards, actually I could have done a 5-card spread, but I decided to only add 1 more. Because the Fool, I think, is the period. I think the Fool on the right is the exclamation point or the period or end of sentence when we, in response to the question of launching towards our dreams. Yeah, the Fool is the one launching toward the dreams. So how do we lay the foundation? Those are the cards before that. Does that make sense? So I laid the Knight of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and then the Fool. And I saw that the Knight of Swords was looking off to the left. And I thought, well, what is the Knight of Swords looking at? So I pulled a card for that, to see what is on this dude's mind. What's on this guy's mind? What's on the knight's mind? So we've got the Five of Wands as an extra card, which actually kind of makes sense. So how are we going to read this? Now you see the knight is looking to the left, the Fool is looking to the right. So there's not a really clear, we have to all look, we're not all looking the same direction, so we should read in that direction, right? What I think this spread is saying is that, like I said, the Fool is the period, the exclamation point at the end of the sentence. So that's the ending. So the cards before, on the other side of the Fool, are the beginning, the story leading up to that end of the sentence. So we've got the Knight of Swords. And I think the Knight of Swords is us, with the Seven of Cups behind and the mind pointed towards the Five of Wands. So let's start with the Knight of Swords. Yeah, here's our Knight of Swords. Da, 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 da. This entire deck is beautifully drawn. It's beautifully redrawn, I should say. It's all pretty much cleaned up. And we have the knight looking to that side, right? The left for me. That side, right? No, left. That side. And we've got the shield on the shoulder with a face on it. We've got the horse beautifully cloaked. We've got black ground with a lot of vegetation on it. Beautiful. And then you'll also notice that at the bottom it says FPLETRENGE. So what does that mean? F means, I think it's fabriqué, but it could be fate. I think it's fabriqué. The P is for, made for, l'étranger. Now it should be l'étranger, but it's l'étranger. So it's made for sale abroad, is really what it's trying to say, that this deck was made for sale abroad, not in the place it was made, for tax purposes. However, it also means made for l'étranger, the stranger, the foreigner. Yeah, it's made for, this knight is made for moving into a foreign and a strange place, an unfamiliar place. So we got that little bit of extra information. So who is the Knight of Swords? The Knight, swords, mind, speech, vision. Yeah, the Knight of Swords is the Knight of action. Now, in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I would say that the Knight of Wands is a Knight of impulsiveness, but in this deck, The Knight of Swords is that impulsiveness, the one who follows impulses. This is the one attempting to make a leap into the unknown. Yeah? Pour l'étranger, for the foreign, for the strange, but for the strange, for the foreign, into the unknown. And this horse is ready to go, right? This is the one of an experimental intellect, one whose mind is able to and enjoys exploring the things that are unknown and experimenting with the meaning and discovering a meaning for what they're thinking about. Yeah, it's the intellect of experiment, of also the experimental intellect also of silence. What do I mean? The experimental intellect of silence and emptiness. What do you think when you think of meditation? We often think of meditation, especially no-mind meditation, we think of something that is, you're like sitting in the middle of a blank void, perhaps an empty black void, and so there's this sense of perhaps boredom, of inactivity, of nothingness, right? But a real meditation, a real no-mind meditation, is not sitting in nothingness. The real no-mind meditation is actively exploring the nothingness. It's not a passive stance, but an active stance. It's an adventure in the void. So that's another meaning of this Knight of Swords. And you'll notice the blackness, that they're riding on the blackness, right? Returning to a path of love. Now this knight, for some people, the knights are so for some people, the pages serve the queen serves the king, and then the knight is the one who leaps from suit to suit. For some people. For me, not always, but I can understand that. So from the swords we'll leap into the cups, perhaps. So returning to the path of love, maybe. Might be another way of thinking of this. So that's the place that we're beginning with. To lay a solid foundation from which to launch toward our dreams. Now, we want to be active. We want to follow impulses, our impulses, not so much impulsiveness like, ooh, I think I'll jump off a cliff. Well, I mean, but in that way, like, ooh, I think I'll run into that saw, that rotating power saw. I think I'll run into that and see what happens. And that could be an impulse. That's not an impulsive decision. That's not the impulse we're talking about. The impulse is that person is interesting. I want to talk to them. Or I feel something over there. Let me go check it out. That kind of impulse. Experimentally exploring the void, yes, but also the environment, and returning to the path of love. And you'll notice the reason I wanted to pull that out was because at the back of the Knight of Swords, we had a suit of love, right? We had the Seven of Cups. Now the sevens for me are the suit of moving out into our group, our people. Now, the fives break the rigidity that can develop from the fours of stability. Now, the fives break through that in like an experimental, playful kind of, what else is there? Yeah? The sixes bring us back to a stability of beauty, perhaps. The sevens move that beauty out into our communities. For me. So, Seven of Cups. We move our emotion, we move our spirit out into the community. So we create joy. We have filled ourselves with joy, and now we create joy in and among the people around us and our environment. Our empathy has blossomed. We have the impulses to act on behalf of others, humanitarian, in love of others, to act in love of others. Now, it could also be the single person finding their space in a group, right? You see this one cup here, a little bit protected by the flora, but finding their place in their group. They're a group of three all together, so I find my place. I can find my place among my people in a loving kind of way, but I still want to maintain that loving action in the world. My humanitarianism, my generosity can bloom with this. So that's where we want to begin. Now, connected to perhaps even universal love, the love of the divine, loving the divine, but the love that the divine has for us, we radiate around. Connected with the universal love, we're more able to radiate it around to the people that we interact with. And we could do that to the exclusion of daily life. You know, that could lead us into perhaps even a monastic or an outwardly appearing holy life, separate from routine daily life, but it doesn't have to be. So this is what is backing up our night. Now, our night is moving forward with that love of others, love of the people and the environment, wanting to create joy, wanting to work on behalf of others, to lift all of us up. That's the foundation that we're talking about. That is our solid foundation from which we launch our dreams. First, we create our foundation of people and relationships and beauty in the environment and divine light that we shed among those around us. And then and from that base, we're able to leap into what? Leap forward with our mind to what? With our mind to the Five of Wands. And like I said, the fives to me are the break out and break through from the stability and sometimes rigidity of the four. So this is a passionate breakthrough. It's a playful, passionate, experimental breaking out from our routines, from our patterns, from what we're used to and comfortable with. Taking creative risks. Now, discovering new desires. Now, at the 3, we had the desire from the Ace, which has created something new. In the 4, it's found some stability. In the 5, okay, now what else is there? How else can this be expressed? What's the new development? Playful, experimental, right? Energy to go beyond what has been known. It could be an initiation into the unknown, creative domains. Now, it could be a gateway or a door into the unknown. Remember, unknown from this, leaping into the unknown creative domains as well. So the Knight's got all of this on his, her, their mind, yeah? The playfulness, experimentation, that new unexplored territory that they're thinking of moving into is a creative one. It's a journey of evolution toward unexpected or larger depths or dimensions. An expansion of what was. That's what the Knight moves forward with. That's what's on their mind. That's where their attention is as they move forward into the unknown, into the void. And so as we move forward in this position, now the Knight with, here we go, with the foundation of this, with this on their mind, then we can move into this, right? The Fool. The Fool, beautiful card. Beautiful card. We've got the bag on the stick over the shoulder. We've got a walking stick. We've got a little beastie animal at our back, either prodding us forward or trying to rip our pants off. So, who is the Fool? For me, the Fool is freedom and searching. Yeah, the freedom to let go of what was and move into what is to be. It's energy, it's vitality. Yeah, the fresh, the excited vitality of a new journey. That's what it feels like to launch dreams forward, doesn't it? Yeah, it's liberation. But it's also a need to take action. The Fool doesn't, the Fool moves, right? The Fool is the launching one. It's the beginning one. Moving forward for their evolution, for the evolution of our dreams. It's also spontaneity, giving up control. Yeah? Once we've got that foundation all nicely set with love and an eye to playfulness and an interest in moving into the unknown, then we're ready to move as we let go of control of the direction of the outcomes of what we're doing. Yeah? We want to keep ourselves guided. We want to guide ourselves. We want to keep our hands on the wheel, but we want to let go of the expected outcomes. Because we're giving our attention to the here and the now. It's that naive quality of the Fool. No expectations for tomorrow, no memory of the past. We focus on the here and the now. Eternally open as we move forward in idealism, yes, in ingenuity, yeah, in innocence. Let go of the guilt of the past. Let go of the expectations of the future, because they don't exist, and we're here and we're now and we're ready to evolve, and we're attentive. The Fool isn't wandering off like in some drug-induced stupor, stumbling motion forward. The Fool is alive and aware of the here and now, and allows the outcomes to be the outcomes. Does that make sense? So that's how we do it. Yeah, that's how do we lay the solid foundation? We do it this way. Yeah, we lay the solid foundation with extending our love out to the community, finding our place among our people, giving our attention to the unknown playfully, experimentally, willing to initiate ourselves into an unknown creative domain. As we maintain ourselves as active people, as experimental explorers of the unknown. Perhaps we're returning to the path of love as we take the next leap forward. And that's interesting, because one of the primary messages of the larger spread for the week, from which this question was drawn, was be careful of getting caught up in an endless cycle of healing and therapy and fixing yourself. That work is good, that work is important, but sometimes we get so involved in our own inner world that we forget to start moving forward again. So that's what this is what this set of cards is responding to as well. Yeah? The foundation is laid in love and with an eye to playful experimentation, and then we move forward. That makes sense? I hope it does. That's how I think we want to live our lives as intentional livers, right? Livers. As those who live intentional lives. We open ourselves. How do we open ourselves? We open ourselves in love, in appreciation, in gratitude, in joy. All of those beautiful cups things, right? That's how we open. And it's in that opening that we open, and there is our solid foundation. It's not necessarily a solid foundation that we're building up from the ground. Perhaps it's a solid foundation that appears as we open, like we're all this little ball. Imagine it this way. This little ball. It just rolls around. It's not a foundation, right? But then we realize that the ball is a flower. And that flower opens, and what were the sides of the sphere open and lay flat, and we have now a solid foundation from which to launch either pollen or our dreams. Does that make sense? There you go. So I think that's what the cards are trying to say. If that does make sense to you, hit the thumbs up button. If you think that reading was just off base, hit the thumbs up button so I know that you watched this to this point. And YouTube knows that you watched it, and YouTube will draw other people's eyes to the channel as well. It helps the channel if you hit that thumbs up button. And friends, if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm going to be, perhaps, I'm 99.999% sure that I'm going to start doing daily videos for about a month and maybe a half. So I'll upload a video about what that is all about soon. Very, very soon. But just so you get notifications of when I do start uploading videos, hit the alarm bell. And comment below. I would really love to hear from you. What do you think? And if you want a private reading from me, my email address is down there in the description box below the link to go check out this deck. Shoot me an email, tell me I want a reading, and we'll work it out for you. Okay? So friends, now, and as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.